now let's deep dive into the topic of fasting for pregnant and breastfeeding women with obstetrics and gynecology specialist, Dr. Bram Pradipta. Hi, doctor. Where are you? There he is.
Hello.
There he is.
Thanks for joining us here, doctor. So,
Pleasure.
yes, so we're talking about fasting for breastfeeding moms and also pregnant mom. So can actually they fast during the Ramadan month? Is that safe for them?
So it actually depends on how you're feeling, what stage of pregnancy you are, and also how is it going on the pregnancy. Whether is it still lots of gastrointestinal complaints, still feel nauseous, still vomit all the time, or like you did on your first pregnancy, right?
Yeah,
on
true.
second trimesters, it's like the honeymoon of pregnancy, where your baby is not that big that give complaints, and also not that small that give complaints through the hormone.
So I did right. I mean, yeah. But not everyone has the same, right? Maybe Yani has some questions here.
Yeah. I do. Well, I want to know what are the positive and negative impacts for pregnant women if they do choose to fast?
Okay, so research says that women who fast on their pregnancy tend not to get the diabetes gestational. So there's a disease where you get your blood sugar all high. It's usually on the second and third trimesters. So women who fast usually don't get that. But the negative side, the complaints is usually increased, like constipations, indigestions. It's increased on the women who fast.
Right. So you've asked about the pregnancy mom. How about the breastfeeding
Oh, that's
mom?
right.
Yeah.
How about breastfeeding mom? Is it safe for breastfeeding moms to fast, or do you think you just skip
Breastfeeding.
it?
Okay, breastfeeding is usually safe, but you must know the red flags of the breastfeeding if you're doing fasting. So you must look at yourself. If you're feeling thirsty all the time, you feel headache, and then you feel lethargic, that means you are on dehydration.
That means you have to break your fast and drink lots of fluids. And also you can see on your babies if he or she, if the baby's also irritable and the weight is not increasing, and also the wet diaper is decreasing, it's also a red flag. So you have to stop doing the fasting.
So I think you're doing right, Yani, because you feel thirsty always, so that's why
Yeah.
you decide not to fasting for this year.
That's right. And maybe if I
We
fast,
support you.
I don't have the energy to work.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So our next question is, from a medical point of view, doctor, when are, particularly for pregnant women, safe to fast?
So usually the second and third trimester is safe, but as I said before, you must see whether the condition is still on your second trimester. Certain women, like 10-20%, still feel nauseous until 16 to 18 weeks of gestational age. It's not recommended, but if you don't feel anything, you can do it as long as the amniotic fluid is okay, the weight of the baby is okay, and also the mother's feels no complaints. And it's also advisable during your fasting, maybe 2 weeks going into the Ramadan, you can do another checkup through ultrasounds and see whether the weight is increasing or not, or whether the amniotic fluid is decreasing or not.
All right. So we're talking about breastfeeding mothers here. Does fasting affect the amount and quality of breast milk produced? As you mentioned before, you can check your babies as well. Do they have more on their diaper? Do they wet more or not? But does it actually affect that? Because there are a lot of food that, you know, mothers usually, and even some doctors usually advise us breastfeeding moms to take during, nursing, so that we can have better milk production.
So if the period of breastfeeding is after 6 months, so the baby can take empathy or the
Nice.
additional food, it's usually safer. But if it's below 6 months and the baby just depends on your milk, on the breast milk, that kind of signs must be looked for and find. whether it's a red flags or not. So if you cannot take less 2 liters, so the target is 2 to 2.5 liters from iftar to sahur. Usually, the quality and the quantity of the breast milk is still okay. But if it's less than that, or maybe you do skip a meal, something, and you do not take certain kind of nutritions, you cannot get the fat. So most of the breast milk is fat and proteins, right? So if you do not take that, the fat and proteins in the breast milk will decrease.
So fat and protein.
Yeah, fat and protein. That's right. Okay. So maybe you can also recommend the food for iftar and sahur, recommended ones for pregnant and breastfeeding women.
So maybe less salty food.
Less salty,
Because
okay.
salty food makes you thirsty more, right, during
Yeah.
during the day. And also when you do the iftar, maybe less sugars, because if you take sugary beverage and sugary food, your blood glucose level will go up through the roof and then will go down in the next 2 or 3 hours. So what you need to do is take the complex carbohydrates, and also fruits. Fruits is also okay because there's also lots of vitamin and minerals there. And also maybe less on the caffeine, maximum 200 milligram of caffeine.
Caffeine.
So it's actually okay for breastfeeding moms to drink caffeine?
Yeah, still okay. 1 cup a day is still okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to
Noted.
stay awake. I know that.
Noted.
But you're drinking coffee right now.
I try to, just in case.
Okay, you have the legitimation from the doctor.
I know.
so-
If the doctor says okay, then I'm okay.
Yes. So, doctor, you've mentioned about like salty food should be avoided. So, can you recommend it more? What other food that pregnant women or breastfeeding mom should avoid during Ramadan?
Should avoid. So sugary and salty food is the one that you should avoid. And then more on the proteins. So meat, chickens, milk is better.
Right.
What about on the how much do they have to consume more than the others or just normal?
Because breastfeeding moms
So-
eat a lot.
That's right. So the basal calorie intakes that we needed is around 30 to 40 calories per kilogram body weight. So if you're breastfeeding, you should add another 500 calories. And
Five.
those calories, 500 calories. So those calories must be achieved during iftar to sahur. So that's the tricky part where you have to take lots of foods and also lots of. So the calorie is correlate to the quality of the breast milk, and also the liquid is correlate to the quantity of the breast milk. So both of those things
Another
must
green
be-
light from the doctor to eat a lot.
Yes, because basically breastfeeding mom intake for 2 person, right? Not just for
Yeah.
herself, but also for the baby.
All right.
That's right.
Now, when pregnant and breastfeeding women are fasting, some of them actually exercise also. So,
Yeah.
does exercise also play an important role in keeping the body fit? Is it okay for a pregnant mom and a breastfeeding mom to exercise during the Ramadan?
So it also depends on the conditions. If you are already tired and exhausted, it's not recommended. But if you still feel energetic, you can do it maybe around 1 hour before iftar, and then you can do a little bit of walking or swimming, and also yoga. Yoga is also recommended, and also cycling, static cycling.
Static
It's also okay.
cycling.
Static cycle.
Oh.
How about pound fit? You cannot
Pound
say
fit.
that.
Yanni does pound fit. That's why we need to ask doctor. Is it okay? Is it good?
Pound is where you pound
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drumstick.
stuff, right? Maybe not that energetic, not
Yeah.
that aerobic, but if not a lot of jumping
Yeah.
for a pregnant woman.
That's
If
right. You
it's
can
not a lot of jumping, it's still okay.
modify the movements.
More right.
Yeah, modify the movements.
Okay.
All right. So maybe if you
the
have
options
any
one.
other, Yeah, if you have any other tips, doctor, tips and tricks for pregnant and breastfeeding women to stay fit while fasting. You mentioned about the food, a protein intake, complex carbohydrates, and also exercise just 1 hour before the iftar time. Do you have any other tricks and tips?
Okay, you should do a balanced diet. So make sure that your carbohydrates, your protein, and your fat is accommodated during your iftar to sahur, and then stay hydrated all the time. So 2 liters a day minimal. So around 8 to 10 glasses of waters. Do not skip your meal. Okay, and then if you're breastfeeding and also do fasting, you still have to pump your breast around 3 hours.
That's right.
Because if you decrease it, then your breast milk productions will also decrease.
Right.
And also, as I said before, cut back on the caffeine, salty, and sugary food.
All right. And also, don't sleep too less.
All right.
Because that's going to be...
You know, I have one question more, doctor.
please.
So, we've been discussing from the point of view of a pregnant or a breastfeeding mom. So, let's talk a bit from the husband role. What things that they need to support their spouse in terms of as a pregnant wife or a breastfeeding wife? What husband need to support?
Okay, so if you're the husband part, then you have to maybe expect less of your wife. So, so you do not have to expect of 5 star meals every iftar and also in every sahur. You can expect less, and then maybe also help out and maybe serve them the food so it can help ease the stress maybe and also the worriness of them. That's the husband part.
Well, thank you for asking that.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
It really represents
Microwave food
what-
for iftar.
here.
I mean, for sahur, right?
Exactly, yes. Dr. Bram, Pradipta, thank you so much for sharing with us here in the 3 Hour News Show, and be talking to you soon. We hope that you stay healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.